Yang Yi left the hall with the white-robed old man. Yang Yi asked, "Where are we going?" The old man replied with a question, "How did you meet my master?" Yang Yi glanced at the old man. "By chance." "Why?" The old man shook his head slightly. "I was just curious." As he spoke, he looked towards the distance. There was a strange hall there. It was oval, pitch black, and emanated mysterious light. The old man said, "The Azura grounds." "The Azura grounds?" Yang Yi gazed at it. "What do you mean?" The white-robed old man explained. "My god race has many ways to foster geniuses, and the Azura grounds is one of them, and it's one of the more brutal places." As soon as he finished speaking, they arrived at the hall's entrance. Meanwhile, the old man gazed at Yang Yi. "The Azura grounds is also called Purgatory. Master wants me to help you ascend to the 5th stage of the enlightened realm and do so without causing any side effects. So, I chose Purgatory for you. My method is very simple, and it's to unearth your potential as far as possible. However, it's dangerous, so mentally prepare yourself." Yang Yi gazed at the hall and nodded slightly. "I'm ready." The old man nodded, and then he waved his right hand. In an instant, a blue circle appeared below Yang Yi's feet, and then he vanished on the spot. Yang Yi suddenly felt dizzy, but it didn't take long for that feeling to vanish. Yang Yi opened his eyes, and then he saw nothing. The surroundings were pitch black. Suddenly, hiss! A gash was torn open on Yang Yi's back, and his figure was blasted away. Yang Yi was visibly stunned when he hit the ground. "What the hell?" Hiss! Meanwhile, Yang Yi's chest suddenly cracked open, and a string of blood sprayed. At this moment, Yang Yi's expression finally changed. Hiss! 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 The sound of air being torn open resounded incessantly while blood sprayed from Yang Yi. However, Yang Yi wasn't able to see his opponent at all. Hiss! Meanwhile, another string of blood sprayed from a new gash on Yang Yi's body. It wasn't that his opponent was holding back, it was that his body was too strong, so while his opponent could cut through his body, it couldn't go deep enough to be lethal. However, if this continued, Yang Yi would definitely die from loss of blood. On the outside, Jir asked softly while standing by the old man's side, "How is he?" The old man fell silent for a moment and replied, "He has quite a bit of problems, and he hasn't tempered himself well enough." He looked in the direction of the hall. "He's a good piece of metal, but there are quite a bit of impurities in him. He can only be called a sword saint if he can remove them." A sword saint. Jir's eyes narrowed slightly. The sword saint was a title in the god race. The god race had a long history, but only few were ever able to become a sword saint. Jir asked, "He has the potential to become one?" The old man nodded slightly. "A saint of the sword. His sword is his own. While there are marks of many others in it, the core is still his own. Obviously, he has been guided by an expert. If..." The old man paused for a moment and continued. "If he's willing to discard some things and fully free his sword, then his sword would be even purer and sharper. Then he wouldn't be himself anymore." Jir spoke indifferently. "Do you know how many times I thought of killing him?" The old man asked. "Why?" She replied, "Some things he possesses are even tempting to me. If I obtained them, it would be enormously helpful to me. But I could never convince myself to kill him." The old man asked, "Why?" Jir looked towards the direction of the hall. "His sincerity and loyalty." The old man nodded slightly. "I see." Meanwhile, Jir flicked a small white bottle to the old man. "Give this to him later." The old man's expression changed. "Master, that's..." Jir replied. "Since I've chosen not to become enemies with him, then we should do our best to be friends. He's loyal, and he'll remember the kindness we show him. So, you don't have to worry about him doing anything that'll be disadvantageous to us." The old man hesitated for a moment and nodded. "As you wish, master." She nodded slightly and glanced at the surroundings. "Uncle Guan, can you deal with that evil treasure for him?" The old man spoke solemnly. "It's best to leave it alone." She asked, "Why?" The old man shot a glance behind them and said, It possesses a fully formed intelligence. If we act against it, we'll definitely incur its resentment. It would be fine if we could kill it, but if we can't, the problem we face will be quite serious. Zhir asked, "Can't we kill it?" "We can," the old man continued, "but we'll have to pay a certain price." Zhir asked, "What price?" "Your god race will be exposed." An icy cold voice came from behind her. Zhir turned around, and she saw a ball of red light not too far away from her. The ball of red light continued, "If I'm destroyed, this place will collapse in an instant. Your god race isn't the same god race that it was all those years ago. If you're exposed prematurely, I'm afraid you'll be instantly obliterated by the other races." "How dare you?" The white-robed old man waved his right hand. An array of white light flashed. Bang! The red ball of light was blasted 3 kilometers away, but countless rays of red light shot up into the air just a moment later. In an instant, the space in a huge area started trembling violently. "Stop!" A cold shout resounded, and then a mysterious wave of energy appeared here. The space in the surroundings gradually returned to normal. The old man intended to attack again, but Zhir waved her hand. "Forget it!" The old man nodded slightly and stopped. Zhir gazed at the ball of light. While the god race has suffered a decline in strength, it still has the ability to kill you. "Is that so?" The ball of red light laughed ferociously. "I was born with the universe, and I'm linked to the quintessence of this universe. Killing me will damage the quintessence of this universe. The god race once stood above the universe, but why don't you try now? See if the spirit of this universe will let you kill me." Zhir's eyes narrowed slightly and gradually became icy cold. Meanwhile, the old man shook his head slightly. "You're right. While we can't kill you, we can still seal you. You want to go down with me?" The voice laughed coldly. "So long as your god race wants that, I'll accompany you to the end." The old man gazed at Zhir, and the latter chuckled abruptly. "You want to acknowledge him as your master, kill him, and then use him to perfect yourself, right?" The ball of red light spoke coldly. "So what if I do?" Zhir chuckled. "Unfortunately, you don't dare to do it." The ball of red light fell silent. Zhir spoke indifferently. "Allow me to give you a warning. Even the heavens can't survive if it seeks death, let alone you. Don't just look at the benefits and ignore the danger. He possesses the inheritance of the Tao path and weapon path, and he's linked with the karma of 2 supreme experts. Not to mention you, even my god race doesn't dare to rashly kill him. As for you, allow me to be honest, no matter whether if it's the Tao path, weapon path, or those 2 experts, they aren't people you can go against." "Is that so?" The ball of red light smiled. "I must admit that his background isn't ordinary, but do you think I'm all alone?" Zhir frowned slightly while the old man's face became quite gloomy. In the Azura grounds, Xianxia was covered in blood. The entire place was pitch black, and blood frequently sprayed from Xianxia. It wasn't that he refused to dodge them, it was that he couldn't. The things which attacked him were too elusive, so he couldn't dodge them at all. The sword domain. Xianxia had thought of the sword domain. He could locate them if he used the sword domain, but the old man prohibited him from doing so. He couldn't use it. Xianxia was very puzzled. However, he listened to the old man and didn't use it. In the darkness, Xianxia slowly closed his eyes while blood sprayed from time to time. He was trying to sense them. He didn't use his eyes because those fellows in the darkness were far faster than anything his eyes could capture. So it would be impossible to catch them with his eyes. He had to use his heart, but he still couldn't see anything. His heart couldn't sense anything. Xianxia was quite lost. Meanwhile, the old man's voice resounded in Xiangye's mind. "There are 4 types of eyes in the world. The naked eye, the eye of the heart, the eye of the sky." The old man paused for a moment and continued. "You're attained the eye of the heart, but that's far from enough. The reason you can't see the evil treasure that follows you is because your vision isn't enough." Xianxia asked, "How do I attain the eye of the sky?" "It's very simple," the old man continued. "Sense the world, control it, and rely on the spirit of everything to be your eyes to see all things. Sense the world." Xianxia fell silent while blood still ceaselessly sprayed from him. Time trickled by. A long time later, Xianxia suddenly opened his eyes and grabbed towards his left. He grabbed a blood-red claw. Xianxia pulled and slammed it down. Boom! Something exploded apart in the darkness. Looks like you've comprehended a little. The old man's voice resounded once more in Xianxia's mind. However, it's only the beginning, and it won't be long before you understand why this place is called Purgatory. As soon as the old man finished speaking, Xianxia saw many blood-red eyes in the darkness. Xianxia took a deep breath, and then a sword appeared in his right grasp. Once you experience Purgatory, your sword will be sharper, more vicious, and crueler. The old man's voice resounded once more. Of course, the precondition is that you're able to leave this place alive. Hiss! As soon as the old man finished speaking, an arm that held a sword flew up into the air. It was Xianxia's hang. Was a sword cultivator without his hand still a sword cultivator? Outside the Azura grounds, Jir spoke softly. He may not be able to handle it. The old man fell silent for a moment and replied, He can choose to give up. She gazed at the old man. The old man spoke softly. Master, which supreme expert has not gone through hell? Comfort and ordinary life is for the weak. Why are the strong strong? How can they become strong without experiencing difficulties and hell? She remained silent. The old man added, Do you know the greatest difference between him and a sword saint? Jir gazed at the old man, and the latter explained, A sword saint is still a sword saint even without the sword. Not to mention losing the sword. Even if they lose their arms, they're still extraordinary sword saints. He gazed at the Azura grounds and continued, So long as sword cultivators have the sword in their hearts, they themselves will be a sword. Jir looked up at the Azura grounds and fell silent. In the Azura grounds, Xianxia's arms had vanished, and he had no choice but to keep dodging. This time he truly sensed death, especially the claw mark on his throat. If he hadn't reacted fast enough, it would have torn out his throat. These things that were attacking him were far stronger than ordinary Sea Dao realm experts. Now that he had no hands, the situation was very worrying. He felt powerless. Xianxia hadn't felt like this for an absolutely long time. In the past, he had his sword in his hands. Even if he was no match for his enemies, he never felt so powerful, and he would fight until the bitter end. Yet now, he'd lost his hands, and it made Xianxia feel extremely powerless. This sort of feeling wasn't just related to his strength, and it was something he felt inside as well. He was showing signs of accepting his fate. Xianxia suddenly woke up from it when he sensed that thought. Xianxia was shocked to realize that he actually had thought about accepting his fate. Accepting his fate was equivalent to giving up. Xianxia had never imagined that he would actually have such a thought in a hopeless situation. While it was just a thought, it allowed him to realize that his mental state had a huge flaw. The strong never gave up. More and more injuries appeared on him. Even with the speed at which the primordial pagoda healed him, he wasn't able to heal himself. If this continued, he would die within the hour. What should I do? Xianxia tried his best to calm down. Energy swords. Xianxia issued a command in his heart. In an instant, 10 energy swords appeared around him, and then they formed a huge sword formation that surrounded him. Now that he had the sword formation to protect him, the number of injuries he suffered had declined tremendously. Counterattack. Xianxia knew that if he just defended himself like this, then he would have no chance of surviving this. He had to seize the initiative. Outside the Azura grounds, the old man suddenly said, His mental strength isn't bad. Jir said, He won't be able to hold on for much longer. The old man spoke indifferently. There are some things that he must experience for himself and comprehend. Only then will they be effective. If he doesn't experience it and comprehend it himself, and I tell him instead, then it would be useless. That's how the path of cultivation works. At most times, you either become a god or a dead spirit. Jir asked, Do you think he can succeed? The old man gazed at the Azura grounds and replied softly, Who knows? In the Azura grounds, The energy swords around Yang Yi were growing fewer and fewer, and Yang Yi was seated cross-legged on the ground. The energy swords around him gradually vanished, and it didn't take long for a claw to descend upon his head. If it struck him, then it was obvious that Yang Yi's head would be clawed open. Suddenly, Yang Yi opened his eyes. Swish! 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 The sound of air being torn apart resounded, and something in the surroundings was being torn apart too. If someone was here, that person would notice that a ray of light was moving nimbly like a venomous snake, and it was ceaselessly flashing through the darkness. Outside the Azura grounds, Jir said, "He did it." The old man nodded. "But it's only the beginning." In the Azura grounds, if someone was here, that person would notice that there was a sword on Yang Yi. An ethereal sword had overlapped with Yang Yi. Sword and man had overlapped. In the pitch-black Azura grounds, a ray of light was flashing incessantly. Just like that, it flashed for around an hour before it stopped. It dispersed, and Yang Yi descended to the ground. At the same time, the ethereal sword could still be seen within him. Yang Yi sat weakly on the ground while his countenance was extremely pale. He was exhausted, absolutely exhausted. Not just exhausted physically, but mentally too. At the moment he was about to die, he suddenly had a thought in his mind. Was a sword cultivator not a sword cultivator without a sword? The answer was naturally a no. So long as a sword cultivator had the sword in their hearts, having a sword in hand wasn't important at all. Once he thought of that, he was instantly enlightened. Coupled with the thousands of sword techniques he'd studied in the past, he'd gained a flash of inspiration, and he made himself a sword. He was the sword. Since there was no sword in his hand, he became the sword. Once he treated himself as a sword, Yang Yi noticed a brand new world. A brand new world in the sword Dao. He was a sword. That was a new discovery for him. It was a new gain. Yang Yi himself wasn't able to explain this new discovery of his because he hadn't comprehended it fully. Actually, it wasn't difficult for him to accomplish this, because his attainments in the sword Dao weren't weak at all. Conversely, it was very great, especially after he studied the 6 slaughters of the weapon Dao and those 10,000 sword techniques. His attainments in the sword Dao had reached a new height. He hadn't accomplished this in the past because he'd never thought in this direction. But after he lost his arms and couldn't hold a sword, this thought finally appeared in his mind. Was a sword cultivator without a sword not a sword cultivator anymore? A truly powerful sword cultivator could use anything as a sword, and if there was nothing to use, they could use themselves. Besides that, Yang Yi had gained one other thing, and it was that he felt like something was changing within him. He felt like he was about to advance. Sure enough, a true life and death battle was the best for stimulating a person's potential. Yang Yi restrained his thoughts and issued a command in his heart. For swords instantly appeared around him, and they circled him. While there was no movement around him for now, Yang Yi didn't dare let his guard down. Everything he experienced earlier told him that the slightest carelessness may cause his death in this place. Around 2 hours later, Yang Ye's arms regrew with the help of the primordial pagoda, and his injuries were almost fully healed. Suddenly, the old man, Uncle Guan, appeared in front of him. Yang Yi opened his eyes and gazed at the old man. The latter nodded slightly. "Looks like you've gained quite a bit." Yang Yi replied, "Thank you." The old man shook his head slightly. "It's your own hard work. Do you know, countless youths of my god race have come to this place, and all of them are top-rate geniuses in the outside world. However, at least 90% of them perished here. Do you know why?" Yang Yi shook his head. The old man smiled. "Actually, many people, and even the you from a while before this, all of you geniuses have a problem, and it's that you're too confident. You think that there's no problem in your mental state, and you think that you're very strong. Actually, if I'm to be honest, all of you think too much of yourselves." Yang Yi didn't know what to say. Uncle Guan continued, "Who dares to say their mental state is perfect? If such a person exists, it's because that person hasn't encountered anything that's capable of revealing the flaws in his or her mental state. Just what happened to you just now. Death isn't terrifying, but the torture while waiting for death to arrive is truly terrifying. Fortunately, you overcame it. Congratulations. Yang Yi smiled. Thank you for your guidance. Uncle Guan nodded slightly, and then he withdrew a white jade bottle. He opened it, and a blood-red pearl floated out from it. Yang Yi was puzzled. What's that? Uncle Guan spoke softly. God blood! God blood! There was bewilderment in Yang Ye's eyes. Uncle Guan nodded slightly. Lord Shi Tian's blood. He flicked forward, and it entered Yang Ye's forehead. In an instant, Yang Ye's body started trembling violently. Meanwhile, Uncle Guan walked over to Yang Yi. It contains extremely pure energy. If you're able to fully absorb it, then not only your cultivation, even your body will be improved tremendously. He paused for a moment and continued. The reason I made you fall into such a hopeless situation wasn't just so that I could force out your potential. There was another reason. It was because I hoped to make you fall into an absolutely exhausted state, just like the state you're currently in. Yang Ye's body was trembling more and more violently. It didn't take long for his clothes to explode apart. If one looked carefully, one would notice that his skin was actually gradually vanishing. Uncle Guan added, God blood will change your skin, meridians, bones, and blood. Of course, you'll still be the same person. Just like that, Yang Ye's skin vanished and grew once more. But this time, his skin had turned quite delicate and white. After that, Yang Yi noticed that the meridians and bones within him were starting to transform. Time trickled by, and his bones and meridians had been transformed. Now it was time for his blood. However, something unexpected occurred. As soon as that droplet of blood entered Yang Ye's blood with the intention of changing it, the tiny vortex within Yang Yi suddenly spun. In an instant, everything stopped. Uncle Guan's eyes opened wide. The god blood is being suppressed. How can this be possible? Suppressed. After the tiny vortex started spinning, the god blood was instantly suppressed and couldn't melt away Yang Ye's own bloodline. Uncle Guan frowned. What's going on? Meanwhile, Jir appeared beside Uncle Guan. Uncle Guan gazed at her with a puzzled expression in his eyes. God blood was the bloodline of the god race, and while it couldn't be considered to be the best in the large universe, it was absolutely capable of being ranked in the top 3 bloodlines. However, he hadn't expected it to actually be suppressed. It was inconceivable. Uncle Guan was absolutely stunned. Jir gazed at Yang Yi for a long time and said, There are only 2 reasons why it could be suppressed. 1. His own bloodline is stronger than our god race's bloodline. 2. His potential is too weak, so the god blood is rejecting him and is forcefully refusing to merge with him. Uncle Guan gazed at Yang Yi. How could his bloodline be better than our god race's bloodline? Jir closed her eyes slowly. She knew that Yang Yi had a treasure in him, and it would only allow things that were beneficial to Yang Yi. Since it refused to let the god blood change Yang Ye's bloodline, it represented that as far as that treasure was concerned, Yang Ye's bloodline was better. Even though Yang Yi was an extraordinary genius and was extremely strong amongst his peers, based on how it was right now, there really wasn't anything special about Yang Ye's bloodline. Meanwhile, Uncle Guan flicked his finger, and a droplet of blood shot out from Yang Ye's forehead. Uncle Guan sized up the blood, and then his expression gradually became solemn. They exchanged glances, and then Uncle Guan spoke solemnly. I see. His bloodline was suppressed by someone. Yang Yi asked, What's his bloodline? Uncle Guan fell silent for a long time before he shook his head. I've never seen it. Jir frowned. She gazed at Yang Yi. Looks like his background isn't ordinary at all. Meanwhile, Uncle Guan suddenly chuckled. It isn't just his background. He himself isn't ordinary at all. I'm sure you're aware that when someone attains a certain level of strength, that person's bloodline can undergo a transformation, just like Lord Shi Tian. As for him, his own clan's bloodline isn't ordinary, and his own bloodline is even more extraordinary. His own bloodline? Jir gazed at Yang Yi. A short while passed before she nodded slightly. I see, Uncle Guan added. The most interesting part is that his own bloodline is slowly transforming too. His own bloodline, his clan's bloodline, his past bloodline, His bloodline is advancing over and over again and changing over and over again. He's a truly interesting little fellow. A smile curled up on the corners of Zhir's mouth. It's truly interesting indeed. Both of them gazed at Yang Yi with a trace of curiosity in their eyes. Around an hour later, Yang Yi opened his eyes slowly. He immediately stood up and inspected his cultivation. He was still at the third stage of the enlightened realm. Yang Yi gazed at them with confusion in his eyes. Uncle Guan grinned. Sense it carefully once more. See if you notice anything different. Yang Yi scanned himself again. It didn't take long for him to notice that his body was actually filled with strength, and he felt like a river was surging through him. Yang Yi gazed at Uncle Guan with a puzzled gaze. What is this? Uncle Guan smiled. While you're just at the third stage of the enlightened realm right now, you can attain the fifth stage of the enlightened realm at any time. However, I have a small suggestion. Just leave your cultivation like this. If you encounter a powerful enemy in the future, then raise your cultivation to the fifth stage at the critical moment, and you'll definitely be able to give that person a terribly pleasant surprise. How cunning. The corners of Yang Ye's mouth curled up slightly. This old man's really cunning. But I like it. Meanwhile, Uncle Guan added, besides that, take a look at your body. Yang Yi scanned his body. At this moment, his physical body was much different than it had been. Uncle Guan explained, ordinary Sea Dao realm experts can't harm you at all now. Even attained Dao realm experts will probably have a huge headache when facing your physical defenses. Of course, it's best if you don't underestimate your opponents. There's never a lack of geniuses in this world. Of course, Yang Yi smiled, because he'd killed many people who were stronger than him. Underestimating one's enemy was equivalent to asking for death. Uncle Guan nodded slightly. Then let's start the next part of your tempering. Yang Yi gazed at Uncle Guan with astonishment. We're still training more? Uncle Guan glanced at the surroundings. You must get through the Azura grounds on your own. Kid, this is just the beginning. Enjoy your training in hell. Uncle Guan vanished on the spot. Zhir sized up Yang Yi and said, come back alive or your sword is mine. She vanished once she finished speaking. The Azura grounds. Yang Yi took a deep breath and glanced at the surroundings. It was completely pitch black. He couldn't see anything, even if he'd comprehended the laws of darkness. Suddenly, pairs of blood-red eyes appeared in the darkness. OM! A sword howl resounded, and then 10 energy swords appeared around Yang Yi. They circled him while rays of light intertwined around him. It was terrifying. At the same time, an ethereal sword overlapped with Yang Ye's body. He was a sword. Yang Yi started walking forward, and it didn't take long for a pair of blood-red eyes to suddenly appear in front of him. Swish! 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 Pairs of blood-red eyes shot at him from all directions. Yang Ye's gaze gradually turned icy cold. He issued a command in his heart, and then energy swords around him suddenly transformed into rays of light that shot forward. At the same time, he transformed into a ray of light that shot towards the distance. Burial. It was the first time Yang Yi executed this sword technique after treating himself as a sword. He was executing it with him as the sword. Yang Yi didn't know how strong it would be, and he just wanted to try it. However, trying it opened another new door to Yang Yi. Everywhere the ray of light passed, pair after pair of blood-red eyes were sliced into pieces. At the same time, the space in the entire Azura grounds cracked open. Outside the Azura grounds, Uncle Guan chuckled. That attack is quite interesting indeed. Zhir nodded slightly. His sword Dao has grown stronger. In the Azura grounds, a ray of light flashed incessantly through the darkness, and 10 energy swords closely defended the ray of light. The energy swords were linked together by sword energy, causing the blood-red eyes in the surroundings to be unable to get close to Yang Yi at all. Nothing could stop his advance. Everywhere the ray of light passed, everything was obliterated. However, the pitch-black darkness in the Azura grounds seemed boundless, and no matter how Yang Yi charged forward, the area ahead was still covered in darkness. Outside the Azura grounds, Uncle Guan suddenly said, it's about time to send some stronger opponents for him. He waved his right hand once he finished speaking. The scene in the Azura grounds suddenly changed, and then Yang Yi appeared on a round platform. Yang Yi glanced at the surroundings, and it was completely hazy. Suddenly, a black shadow appeared in front of him. The black shadow was completely pitch black. Yang Yi couldn't see the shadow's face at all, and he could only see an outline. Swish! The shadow suddenly vanished on the spot, and it was in front of Yang Yi when it appeared once more. At the same time, a sword stabbed into Yang Yi's forehead before he could even react. Blood seeped out. Fortunately, Yang Yi had reacted when it stabbed into his skin. He grabbed it with his left hand and immobilized it. "It's fast," Yang Yi exclaimed in his heart. Suddenly, the shadow before him vanished. An instant later, Yang Yi's sword vanished from his grasp, and then his pupils constricted. He instinctively moved his head backwards, and a sword flashed past his throat. Hiss! Blood seeped out slightly from his throat. Meanwhile, Yang Yi moved around 30 m back. However, as soon as he stopped there, the black shadow suddenly appeared before him, and then a sword stabbed at his forehead. It was extremely swift, so swift that Yang Yi couldn't even react. Hiss! Yang Yi was only able to react after the sword stabbed into his skin, and Yang Yi flashed backwards. However, the shadow followed him like it was his own shadow, and rays of light flickered incessantly. Hiss! 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 Strings of blood sprayed from Yang Yi. Yang Yi couldn't dodge any of the attacks, and all he could do was dodge and defend himself at the critical moment, and that was the only reason why he hadn't been killed until now. However, he was being utterly suppressed. The sword domain. Yang Yi activated the sword domain. As soon as he did that, he was able to catch the movements of the black shadow. At the same time, the shadow's speed was suppressed. Right when Yang Yi was about to attack, a wave of mysterious energy appeared. The sword domain. Another sword domain had appeared here. Two sword domains overlapped on each other. Yang Yi was stunned on the spot. "That black shadow is formed based on you." Suddenly, Uncle Guan's voice resounded in Yang Yi's mind. "He's you. So if you suppress him with the sword domain, he'll use the sword domain to suppress you too." "He's me." Yang Yi gazed at the black shadow. "Why is he faster than me?" Uncle Guan replied with a question. "Do you really think he's faster than you?" Yang Yi fell silent. The black shadow was him, yet it was faster than him? Obviously, that was impossible. So, there was only one explanation, and it was that he hadn't fully utilized his speed, or perhaps he wasn't using his full strength. My full strength. Yang Yi was instantly enlightened when he thought up to this point. Yang Yi deactivated the sword domain, and so did the black shadow. A moment later, two rays of light flashed. Hiss! Hiss! Something was sliced open. A breath of time later, Yang Yi lowered his sword, and the black shadow slowly dispersed before him. Yang Yi grinned. "A fake is nothing more than a fake." Suddenly, two black shadows appeared not too far away from him. Yang Yi's eyes narrowed slightly. As expected, it really isn't that easy. Around 15 minutes later, both black shadows were killed. However, it didn't take long for 3 black shadows to appear before Yang Yi. Then 4. Then 5. 6. Just like that, more and more shadows appeared. 2 hours later, Yang Yi was fighting 12 of them. However, Yang Yi found it getting more and more difficult to persist in such battles. Outside the Azura grounds, Jir spoke softly. "What's his limit?" Uncle Guan pondered deeply for a moment and said, 20. Jir had a trace of complicated emotions in her eyes. If he really can fight 20, then his natural talent is sufficient to be entered amongst the famous geniuses of our race. Uncle Guan nodded. "He's worthy of it." Jir gazed at the Azura grounds. "Unfortunately, he isn't a part of our race." Uncle Guan fell silent. In the Azura grounds, there were 20 shadows around Yang Yi, and all of them were images of himself. Defend. Yang Yi had adopted a defensive stance, and he only responded to their attacks. Because if he tried to attack, they would rain down a storm of attacks upon him. He wasn't able to defend himself against something like that, but he was in an absolutely passive position. When facing the joint forces of 20 people, Yang Yi had no chance to counterattack at all. However, they weren't able to get through his defenses as well. So they entered into a stalemate. Suddenly, Uncle Guan appeared on the platform. He waved his right hand, and the shadows vanished. Yang Yi sighed with relief and sat on the ground. Exhaustion. He was exhausted. It felt like he'd been bashed up for days, and his entire body was covered in injuries. Uncle Guan walked over to Yang Yi. "What have you learned?" Yang Yi gazed at Uncle Guan and was panting. "Let me rest for a while." Uncle Guan grinned. "All right." Around an hour later, Yang Yi had finished recuperating. Yang Yi gazed at Uncle Guan. "Can you fight 20 of your own shadows?" Uncle Guan shook his head. "Those shadows are just copies in the end. So, how can they possess the true combat strength of the actual person? Of course, they aren't much weaker either. They possess around 80% of your strength. In the beginning, the reason it suppressed you was because you underestimated yourself and didn't use everything you had." Uncle Guan smiled and continued. "Actually, this test's objective is to make you understand two things. Firstly, always use your full strength and never underestimate yourself. Secondly, it's so you understand the importance of going on the defensive." Yang Yi frowned. "Defense?" Uncle Guan nodded. "Your sword Dao is too unyielding, and the way you fight is too aggressive. Of course, it makes your sword extremely sharp and fierce. But have you not noticed? When you're unable to kill your opponent swiftly, or when your opponent is even more aggressive, what should you do then?" Yang Yi fell silent. His sword always moved forward and never backwards. Uncle Guan explained, "There are two sides to everything. Your sword is too aggressive, and while that isn't wrong, why can't you learn to take a step back or go on the defensive? You'll only grow stronger if you can do both. What do you think?" Yang Yi fell silent. Meanwhile, Uncle Guan added, "Just like the fight from before. When you were attacked by 20 people, you couldn't attack, so what else could you do but defend yourself? Regardless of whether it's the sword Dao or any other Dao, there's both attack and defense. Just like all things in the world, there's destruction, but there's also new life. Understand?" Yang Yi fell silent for a long time and nodded. "I understand." Uncle Guan grinned, waved his right hand, and they left the Azura grounds. Meanwhile, Jir walked over to Yang Yi and flicked a sword to Yang Yi. It was the sword supreme. Jir said, "Promise me something." Yang Yi gazed at her, and she said, "Don't let it get the blood of my god race on it anymore." Yang Yi took the sword. "I won't point it at the god race while it's in my hands." Jir smiled. "Then don't let it fall into the hands of another." Yang Yi glanced at the surroundings, and then he cupped his fist to them. "Thank you." Uncle Guan smiled and didn't say anything. Jir said, "My god race will be leaving this place soon. Once we do, the seal here will vanish. At that time, you can leave this world. You must leave this world." "Why?" Yang Yi was quite curious because she said that he must leave. Jir explained, "Because this world will collapse. It's not my god race's doing. It's because this world was already at the verge of collapse. One of the reasons my god race sealed this place was to delay the speed it collapsed at. If we didn't seal this world, it wouldn't even exist now." "I see." Yang Yi nodded and asked, "Then where will you be going?" Jir smiled. "Back to our home." Yang Yi asked, "What about the other races?" Jir shook her head slightly. "They aren't the same united races anymore, and we won't go to war with them. Of course, chaos will descend very soon. This chaos won't just extend to all the races. It'll extend to the weapon path, Dao path, Confucianist path, Buddhist path, and many other hidden powers." She chuckled. "The conflict between them has reached a breaking point. In short, good luck." Yang Yi nodded. "No matter what, thank you for today. Jir, Senior, farewell." Yang Yi didn't stay a moment longer and vanished on the spot. "That kid isn't bad," Uncle Guan suddenly said. "I finally know why you didn't kill him." Jir closed her eyes slowly. "Unfortunately, he isn't a member of our race. Otherwise, the speed our race rises up at would improve tremendously." Uncle Guan nodded slightly. "It's quite a pity indeed. However, We'll still rise up since we have you, and we'll make the other races tremble before us. Zhi's gaze gradually became icy cold. The other races. Xianxia met the royal crocodile again on his way out. This time, it merely glanced at him and displayed no hostility towards him. Xianxia nodded slightly, and then he vanished into the distance. Once Xianxia vanished, a woman in a white dress suddenly appeared on the royal crocodile's back. She looked in the direction Xianxia had vanished towards and seemed to be lost in thought. In the clouds, Xianxia shot forward swiftly on his sword. Suddenly he stopped and looked down. There were many demon beasts dashing through the boundless mountain range, and they were heading in the direction of southern Qilin Mountain. Besides the demon beasts, Xianxia saw many other human experts, and many had concealed yet powerful auras. All of them were traveling towards southern Qilin Mountain. It was the hope of all the people in the dead dimension, their hope to escape. Xianxia moved his gaze away and spoke softly. The world here is about to change. Xianxia didn't stay, and he sped up instead. It didn't take long for him to return to the foot of southern Qilin Mountain, and it was surrounded by a dense ocean of demon beasts. The army of demon beasts had fully surrounded the mountain. Besides that, Xianxia noticed the figures of humans amongst them. Obviously, the locals of the dead dimension had joined forces with the demon beasts. Southern Qilin Mountain was in danger. Xianxia fell silent for a long time, and then he snuck up the mountain. At this moment, Amon and the others were gathered together. They nodded when they saw Xianxia. Xianxia gazed at Qin Chuan. Are you all right? Qin Chuan shrugged and smiled. I've fully recovered. Xianxia smiled. Congratulations. Qin Chuan grinned. He glanced at Xianxia. You seem to have changed a little. Everyone gazed at Xianxia, and Ling suddenly said, You've grown stronger again. He has grown stronger again. All of them had quite strange expressions on their faces, because the rate Xianxia grew at was too terrifying. Xianxia smiled and said, What were all of you discussing? Amon pointed at a chair. Xianxia went over and sat down. Meanwhile, Amon said, Southern Qilin Mountain probably won't last. All of their faces fell when they heard this. Southern Qilin Mountain could be considered the last sanctuary for outsiders like them. If they failed to defend it, the consequence would be being hunted endlessly. As for the worst outcome, it would naturally be being buried along with Southern Qilin Mountain. Amon gazed at Xianxia. What is your opinion? Xianxia spoke solemnly. We must leave the dead dimension. He hadn't forgotten what Zhi told him. The dead dimension was on the verge of collapse. Amon asked, How? Xianxia stood up. According to my knowledge, the seal here will vanish in around a month from now. That'll be the time we leave. Amon asked, Is your information reliable? Xianxia nodded. Yes. Meanwhile, Qin Chuan laughed bitterly. Around a month? Even holding on for 3 days is an issue for us. Xianxia fell silent. Based on the current situation, once the demon beasts attacked, then it would end exactly as Qin Chuan feared. Not to mention a month, even 3 days would be difficult. All of them fell silent. Suddenly, Amon said, If everyone here can work together, then we actually have a chance. Unfortunately, they refuse to unite, and many have started to plan their own escape. She glanced at the others, and then she gazed at Xianxia. Everyone here is someone I can trust. So tell me what all of you think. Shall we stay or flee together? Everyone gazed at Xianxia. Xianxia fell silent for a long time. Right when he was about to speak, furious howls resounded from the demon beasts that surrounded the mountain. Amon spoke solemnly. They're attacking Southern Qilin Mountain. Countless demon beasts surged towards the mountain. The entire mountain shook before them. Xianxia and the others went to the edge of the mountain's peak, and they could see everything down below. At this moment, an endless ocean of demon beasts were surging towards southern Qilin Mountain, and the sight of this dense ocean of demon beasts caused a chill to run down their spines. There were too many of them. Activate the formation. Suddenly, a voice resounded from above the mountain, and then numerous flying swords appeared in the sky above the mountain. After that, These swords transformed into rays of light that shot towards the demon beasts on the ground below. They rained down like a storm, and then howls of pain resounded once they entered the ocean of demon beasts. While the flying swords were powerful, they were far from sufficient when facing the boundless expanse of demon beasts. Amon suddenly said, "We won't be able to defend the mountain." Yang Yi nodded slightly. It was really impossible to defend southern Qilan Mountain. Even if everyone here formed a united front, they still had no chance. Those demon beasts were much more united. Suddenly, an old man appeared before Yang Ye's group. The old man said, "Mr. Mo requests your presence." Mr. Mo was the leader of the southern faction, Mo Tianxiong. Yang Yi and the others exchanged glances, and then Yang Yi said, "Let's go." They followed the old man to southern Qilan Hall at the top of the mountain. Around 300 people were gathered here, and they were all top-rate experts. The meeting was led by two middle-aged men. One of them was Mo Tianxiong, and not too far away on his right was a middle-aged man in a black robe. He was the leader of the northern faction, Wan Qianyu. At this moment, everyone in the hall had an extremely solemn expression on their face. Mo Tianxiong nodded slightly when he saw Yang Ye's group arrive, and he said, "Everyone, based on our estimations, if this continues, then we won't be able to defend southern Qilan Mountain." Actually, all of them had expected this. But now that Mo Tianxiong had openly admitted it, they had quite complicated emotions in their hearts. Meanwhile, Mo Tianxiong said, "While we can't defend the mountain, it doesn't mean that we have no hope. I'm sure you're aware of what their main objective is. It's actually the teleportation formation here and not us. So, we've decided to abandon southern Qilan Mountain and retreat." Retreat. Everyone had come to the same conclusion. Mo Tianxiong said, "Everyone, fate brought us together here. Yet now, that fate is over. The dead dimension is about to fall into chaos. So, your fate is in your own hands." Someone asked, "When are we leaving?" Mo Tianxiong replied, "Southern Qilan Mountain's formation can last for at least 3 days, so we'll leave on the day after tomorrow. Right, the spirit veins at the top and bottom of the mountain are open to all of you now. Many immortal crystals still remain in there, so you can spend the next 2 days searching for them. Thank you for your kindness, Mr. Mo." Someone praised. Many others nodded and praised as well. Mo Tianxiong grinned. "Good luck, everyone." It only took a short while for everyone to disperse, and they rushed to the spirit veins. All of them wanted to gain a little before leaving. Immortal crystals. A few more immortal crystals represented a larger chance at survival. As for Yang Ye's group, they returned to their room. In the room, Qin Chuan spoke abruptly. "Aren't we going to get some immortal crystals?" Amon gazed at him and shook her head. "Why?" Qin Chuan gazed at her with a puzzled expression on his face. "Big sis, the way you're looking at me makes me feel really uncomfortable," Amon said. "Haven't you noticed anything off about all of this?" Qin Chuan was puzzled. "Something's off." Meanwhile, Yang Yi asked, "Do you really think Mo Tianxiong would be that nice?" Qin Chuan's face fell. "You're saying that they're planning something?" Yang Yi shook his head. "I don't know. However, we must be careful. Besides that, we won't be waiting until tomorrow. We'll leave tonight." Someone asked, "Why?" Yang Yi replied, "We have enough immortal crystals, so staying is just a waste of time. So get prepared. We'll be leaving late at night." All of them had no objection towards this. Yang Yi returned to his room, sat down cross-legged, and entered the primordial pagoda. Cultivate. He refused to waste even a bit of time that could be used for cultivating. His cultivation was at a bottleneck, so it was pointless to continue cultivating in that aspect. This time, Yang Yi planned to cultivate in the sword fusion he'd just comprehended. He was the sword, and the sword was him. Countless sword cultivators had heard such a thing, but it was absolutely difficult to truly accomplish. He'd once treated the sword as part of himself, but he hadn't reached the state of treating himself as the sword itself. Now he'd accomplished that. However, he had many other things to figure out. Since he didn't have anyone to guide him, he had to rely on himself and slowly discover a lot of things. Just like that, time trickled by and it was late at night. Amon arrived in Yang Ye's room. Yang Ye asked, "Is everyone ready?" Amon nodded slightly. "They're all ready. However, where will we be heading? Do you have a plan?" Yang Yi stood up and said, "There's a plain behind southern Chilan Mountain and we can't go there, because once the demon beasts chase us there, we'll definitely be unable to escape them. Then we can only go towards the left of southern Chilan Mountain." Amon spoke solemnly. "The ocean is over 50,000 kilometers away in that direction. It should be quite safe." Yang Yi shook his head. "We're going towards the right." "The right?" Amon frowned. "It's an expanse of boundless mountains there. Demon beasts have a huge advantage there." Yang Yi replied, "Do the opposite. Don't forget that there are humans amongst the demon beasts. If they want to pursue outsiders like us, they'll choose the left first. So it's better to take a risk and head right. The mountain range is more dangerous than the plains behind southern Chilan Mountain, and there are absolutely few who'll be going that way. The fewer there are, the smaller the target will be, and that's much more beneficial to us." Amon fell silent for a long time, and then she said, "Perhaps the demon beasts won't pursue us?" Yang Yi replied, "They definitely will." Amon was puzzled. "Why?" Yang Yi explained, "Greed. If the people in southern Chilan Mountain didn't touch the spirit veins and take the immortal crystals before leaving, then maybe they wouldn't chase after us. However, there probably won't be a single immortal crystal left here by tomorrow. At that time, once the demon beasts realize that they can't leave this place immediately, they'll definitely direct their rage towards us outsiders." Amon fell silent for a long time before she said, "All right, we'll go towards the right." Once they left the room, they saw Qin Chuan and the others waiting outside. The flying swords were still howling down below the mountain, and it was accompanied by the howls of countless demon beasts. Yang Yi glanced at the others and said, "Let's go." It didn't take long for them to sneak out of southern Chilan Mountain. If it was at any other time, it would be absolutely impossible to sneak out of southern Chilan Mountain. Yet now, everyone here was madly searching for immortal crystals, so how could anyone have the time to pay attention to anything else? Right after they left southern Chilan Mountain and planned to flee, a huge explosion suddenly resounded from southern Chilan Mountain. Yang Yi and the others shot a glance back at southern Chilan Mountain, and they watched with astonishment as the barrier of light above the mountain and the flying swords gradually vanished. After they vanished, there was nothing standing before the demon beasts and southern Chilan Mountain, and all of them charged up the mountain. Qin Chuan asked, "What's going on?" Yang Yi said, "I see. If I'm not wrong, Mo Tianxiong and the others have left southern Chilan Mountain. As for the people left here, they're sacrifices." "Sacrifices?" Qin Chuan continued. "You're saying that what they spoke about in the hall earlier was all a lie, and they intentionally made these people stay?" Yang Yi nodded. He expected that these demon beasts wouldn't spare all of us outsiders. Under such circumstances, the only way to retreat safely is to make some people stay in southern Chilan Mountain and delay the demon beasts. As for how to make them stay, there's only a single way to accomplish that: immortal crystals. Yang Yi looked up at southern Chilan Mountain. All of them wanted to gain some immortal crystals before leaving, but they never realized that it was a trap someone laid out for them. At this moment, the sound of battle could be heard coming from southern Chilan Mountain. The demon beasts had ascended the mountain, and only now did the humans there realize what was going on. They wanted to fly, but they realized that there was nowhere to escape. There was a dense ocean of demon beasts on the ground and in the air. They'd completely covered southern Chilan Mountain to the point that there was no gap in them. The only way to live was to fight their way out. The situation on southern Chilan Mountain was horrifying. Meanwhile, a few groups had already snuck out of the mountain. Yang Ye's group entered the boundless mountain range. At this moment, their goal was to escape southern Chilan Mountain and survive until the seal around the dead dimension vanished. They headed all the way north. The sun gradually appeared on the horizon. Meanwhile, all of them stopped because they'd passed through the mountain range and arrived at an expanse of crimson ground. It was an expanse of crimson ground that emanated strange red vapors. Qin Chuan spoke softly. There's something off about this place. Yang Yi gazed at Aman. What is this place? Aman shook her head. I don't know. The furthest I've been from Sky Residence City was southern Chilan Mountain. Yang Yi glanced at the surroundings. Let's just take this one step at a time. Be careful. All of them headed forward. Yang Yi suddenly stopped around 15 minutes later. Meanwhile, a voice resounded. It has been so long since someone alive has come here. All of them were shocked, and they saw a hunched old man walking slowly in their direction. Vigilance covered their faces. Meanwhile, the old man stopped, scanned them, and shook his head. Yang Yi and Aman exchanged glances, and then Yang Yi said, Senior, may I know what this place is? The old man gazed at Yang Yi, and then a wisp of surprise flashed through his eyes. Interesting. Yang Yi was about to speak when the old man asked, Do you know what this place is? Yang Yi shook his head. The old man grinned. You'll find out soon. His grin was quite terrifying. Yang Ye's profound energy started to circulate within him. Suddenly, numerous souls appeared all around them. There were hundreds of them. A sword howl resounded abruptly, and then the souls in the surroundings stopped on the spot. Yang Yi took a step forward and looked the old man in the eye. We're merely passing through and have no ill intent. We'll take another way if this way isn't open to us. The old man chuckled. It's too late. As soon as he said those words, the souls in the surroundings pounced at Yang Ye's group. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Meanwhile, 10 rays of light flashed, and they sliced down at the souls. However, Yang Yi noticed to his astonishment that they remained completely unharmed before his sword energy. What's going on? Yang Yi frowned. Meanwhile, those souls had arrived before his group. Yang Yi didn't have the time to think and immediately summoned the Sword Supreme. After that, he swung it forward. Hiss! 2 souls in front of Yang Yi were instantly obliterated. It works. Yang Yi was relieved. He swiftly waved his sword, and the souls around him instantly vanished. Watch out! Aman's voice resounded abruptly. As soon as she finished speaking, the old man appeared in front of Yang Yi. But Yang Yi was clearly on guard against this, and his sword was already stabbing forward. However, his sword was caught by 2 fingers. 2 old fingers. The surroundings fell silent. Yang Ye's sword was extraordinarily sharp, so no one had expected it to be caught between someone's fingers. The old man said, Your sword isn't bad. Your sword Dao is even better. Interesting. As soon as he finished speaking, he shook his fingers slightly and Yang Yi was pushed over 1 kilometer away. Yang Yi didn't launch another attack. The old man's strength far surpassed his own, so it was pointless to attack the old man again. The old man sized up Yang Ye's group, and then he gazed at Yang Yi. You stay, the others leave. Qin Chuan and the others immediately walked over to Yang Yi. Their intentions were obvious. The old man spoke indifferently. If you don't leave now, you won't be able to later. Aman was about to speak when Yang Yi shook his head. Take them and leave. Aman shook her head. Yang Yi gazed at her and sent her a voice transmission. I have a better chance at escaping if I'm alone. He glanced at Qin Chuan and the others and continued. This old man's strength is far above my own. If he wanted to kill me, he wouldn't have to go through so much trouble. Perhaps he thinks highly of my natural talent and wants me to become his disciple. Qin Chuan and the others exchanged glances. In the end, Aman said, We'll be waiting outside. She immediately led the others out of this crimson expanse of land. But they didn't go too far. Once they left, Yang Yi gazed at the old man. Senior, go ahead and tell me what you want. The old man replied, Someone wants to meet you. Someone. Once the old man finished speaking, he turned around and walked off ahead. Yang Yi hesitated for a moment and followed the old man. As they continued forward, Yang Yi noticed bones on the ground, a huge number of bones. Dead people. Yang Ye's face fell. It didn't take long for Yang Yi to be led to a cave. The cave was extremely dark, and they walked around 15 minutes more before the old man stopped. He bowed, and then vanished from the cave. Suddenly, Yang Ye's sword escaped his grasp and flew off into the distance. Yang Yi looked up. He saw a crystal casket floating there, and the sword was floating before the casket. The sword seemed to be trembling and responding to something. A long time passed before a voice came from there. "The sword supreme is actually in your possession." Yang Yi spoke solemnly. "Senior, you recognize it?" The voice replied, "There were 9 people who forged this sword. I'm one of them. So why wouldn't I?" Yang Yi was stunned on the spot. He didn't know much about the Sword Supreme's origins, and he merely knew that a few Supreme experts had joined forces to forge it. Moreover, all those Supreme experts could be addressed as progenitors. But he hadn't expected to actually meet one of them in the dead dimension. Meanwhile, the sword flew back to Yang Yi, and the voice from the casket resounded once more. "You're surprised, and I'm even more surprised. When she was forged, she had a benevolent and kind character. Even if her sword spirit was heavily injured by Shirtion, her instinct is still present. So, she shouldn't have chosen you." Yang Yi fell silent. Actually, it hadn't chosen him when he first met it, and it had merely come to him because it wanted to stay within the primordial pagoda. As for what happened later on, in any case, it slowly fell for his tricks and stayed with him. Yang Yi restrained his thoughts and said, "Senior, are you going to take it back?" "Take it back." The voice replied, "Why would I do that? Since it chose you, it's yours. Everything in this world has a spirit and destiny. Others should not interfere with it." Yang Yi glanced at the casket and said, "Senior, that is true. So, can I leave now?" The voice asked, "Do you know why there are so many bones outside?" Yang Yi shook his head. The voice explained, "Greed. Both man and even demon beasts know greed. I left that red vapor outside to tell others that this place doesn't want to be disturbed, and it isn't safe. However, those people and demon beasts still come in here. Besides greed, it's because they think they'll be lucky." Yang Yi spoke solemnly. "Senior, what are you trying to say?" The voice asked, "Do you know why we forged this sword?" Yang Yi nodded slightly. "I heard it was for the fight against the god race." The voice replied, "Exactly. Then do you know what possessing this sword represents?" Yang Yi chuckled. "Senior, I don't want to know. I don't like to be forced into something. If it stays with me, I control it and not the other way around. If its sword spirit awakens, and its mission conflicts with my own intentions, then I'll abandon it and we can go our separate ways." He had to kill the god race and protect the other races just because he had this sword? No way. Yang Yi would never do that. The voice fell silent for a long time before it said, "Staying true to your heart. Not bad." Yang Yi asked, "According to my knowledge, this world is about to collapse. Aren't you going to leave?" The voice replied, "It is about to collapse, but it can't harm me." Yang Yi was stunned speechless. Meanwhile, the voice suddenly said, "I need your help with something." Yang Yi was about to speak when the voice continued, "There's a race called the Wing Race in the large universe. If I'm not wrong, it has suffered decline by now. I want you to take something to them." Yang Yi asked, "Senior, why don't you head back yourself?" The voice chuckled. "This world is a cruel one. Have you heard about the fight between paths? I think you should have, because you've been swept into it as well. This battle is one that only ends with the death of the other party. After the war with the god race, my wing race lost, so it should retreat and enter into seclusion." She paused for a moment and continued, "Unfortunately, others may not allow us to just leave. Others can only truly rest easy when you're dead. Right? If I didn't leave completely, then both me and my race would have been annihilated. The Battle of Paths." Yang Yi heard about it again, but he had no idea what it actually was. Meanwhile, a black spatial ring appeared in front of Yang Yi. "Take this to the wing race and they'll understand everything." Yang Yi didn't hesitate to take it. "I'll definitely pay them a visit if I'm able to leave this place. I won't make you do it for free." Meanwhile, the voice said, "I can't show myself now, and I can't help you either. However, I have a little thing that I can give you." A pair of pitch-black wings appeared before Yang Yi. The voice explained, "The divine wings. It was made from the bones of a supreme expert from my wing race. As for its speed, you'll find out once you try it. Xianxia gazed at the wings. They were pitch black, and there were black bones on the back of it. Besides that, its edges were thin like the wings of a cicada and extremely sharp. Xianxia asked, "What rank is it at?" "The sage rank." The voice continued, "Try it." Xianxia hesitated for a moment and asked, "Can I try it outside?" "Of course." The voice continued, "You can leave whenever you want." Xianxia cupped his fist to the casket and left. Meanwhile, the hunched old man from before appeared below the casket. "Master, I don't understand. He's a pretty good host. If you live within him, it'll take 10 years at most before he will become the best body for you to take control of." Suddenly, a voice resounded. "If you do that, both you and your master will vanish from this world." The old man's expression changed drastically. Who was that? The pitch-black cave was perfectly silent. The hunched old man glanced at the surroundings and was extremely vigilant. Meanwhile, a voice came from the casket. "That person is gone." The hunched old man asked, "Who was that?" The voice from the casket said, "That person's main body isn't in this world. Not in this world." The old man's pupils constricted. Who was that? After he left the cave, Xianxia shot up into the air, and then the divine wings appeared before him. Xianxia flicked a bead of blood into it. The wings instantly started trembling when the blood touched it, and then the two balls of dark blue flames appeared in the eye sockets of the skull on the back of the wings. Swish! The wings transformed into a ray of black light that entered Xianxia's forehead. A moment later, a pair of huge wings appeared on Xianxia's back. The wings were much larger than Xianxia's entire body. "I feel so light." At this moment, Xianxia felt absolutely light to the point he practically couldn't feel his body. Xianxia issued a command in his heart, and he transformed into a ray of light that vanished on the spot. 2 breaths of time later, a man in green clothes appeared in the sky near southern Chilan Mountain, and there was a huge pair of black wings on his back. It was Xianxia. Xianxia took a deep breath as he gazed at the mountain down below. His eyes were filled with shock. It was too fast. His current speed was simply unmatched below the Zen realm. Not to mention Dao realm experts, even attained Dao realm experts may die from a single attack of his. The only flaw was that it consumed quite a bit of profound energy. Just using it for that moment had exhausted around a third of his profound energy. However, it made sense because using such a treasure at his level of cultivation definitely had its drawbacks. Xianxia restrained his thoughts and looked at the mountain below him. At this moment, it had been occupied by the army of demon beasts, and the aura of demon beasts filled it. Xianxia didn't stay and vanished on the spot. Xianxia found Amon and the others, and they heaved sighs of relief when they saw him. Qin Chuan asked, "What do we do now?" Xianxia pondered deeply for a moment and replied, "Wait. Wait until the seal vanishes, and then we'll leave." Mad Saver suddenly said, "I investigated a little just now. We can continue towards the right. That way is fine." Xianxia shook his head. "There's no need for that. We'll just hide near here. After all, we still have to go back to southern Chilan Mountains teleportation formation later. Let's just look for a place to hide, recuperate, and return there once the seal has vanished." All of them had no objections. They found a gorge in the mountain range. It was extremely wide, and it was surrounded by mountains. Xianxia sat cross-legged on the ground and immersed his mind into his body. This time, he had to make himself advance to the 5th stage of the enlightened realm. Because once the seal vanished, this world wouldn't have long before it collapsed and vanished. Besides that, it would definitely not be that easy for them to use the teleportation in southern Chilan Mountain. He had to prepare for the worst. This breakthrough was absolutely easy, because he'd actually been at the 5th stage of the enlightened realm since his time in the Azura grounds, but he just hadn't allowed himself to advance and wanted to use it to trick his opponents. Yet now that he had the divine wings, his profound energy wasn't really sufficient, so he'd chosen to advance to the 5th stage of the enlightened realm. A day later, Xianxia was at the 5th stage of the enlightened realm, and he was just a step away from the Dao realm. After he advanced, Yang Yi started to merge everything he knew. Sword fusion, he'd attained that level of cultivation, and his strength underwent a qualitative change when he utilized it. However, he hadn't fully merged and comprehended it. His current trump cards were the Burial and Shadow Sword, and then it was Sword Fusion. Sword Fusion wasn't a technique, it was a state or level, and it was much more powerful than anything he'd learned up until now. While he used Sword Fusion, his techniques like Burial and Shadow Sword would rise a level higher in strength. His current goal was to perfectly merge all three of them, so his Sword Dao was even more simplified. At most times, moves and techniques were useless when one was killing. Just a single move would suffice. Just like that, time trickled by, and the dead dimension was undergoing a tremendous change. More and more demon beasts, humans, and other beings were converging towards southern Qilan Mountain. All of them wanted to escape the dead dimension. 2 weeks passed swiftly. Boom! Suddenly, everyone throughout the dead dimension heard a loud explosion, and then countless volcanoes erupted throughout the dead dimension, while tsunamis drowned the land. Besides that, the ground in certain parts had started to crack open while lava seeped out from deep below the ground. Furthermore, some towering mountain ranges had started to collapse. The dead dimension was doomed. Under such circumstances, the entire dead dimension fell into chaos. In the gorge, Yang Yi suddenly opened his eyes because the mountains around them had started to crack apart while the ground was trembling. Amon and the others huddled around Yang Yi, and Amon spoke solemnly while she watched the scene in the surroundings. Based on the current speed it's collapsing at, it'll take 3 days at most for the dead dimension to cease to exist. We must leave via the teleportation formation before then. 3 days. Yang Yi stood up. Come. Let's head back to southern Qilan Mountain. Qin Chuan asked. Are we going to kill our way back there? Yang Yi shook his head. We're going to reason with them. Qin Chuan asked. Do you think that they'll listen to you? Yang Yi walked over to Qin Chuan, patted him on the shoulder and said, Let me teach you a trick to use when someone refuses to listen to you. You put a sword against that person's throat. Trust me, at that time, that person will sit down calmly and reason with you. Qin Chuan was stunned speechless. It didn't take long for them to get back to southern Qilan Mountain. However, they didn't ascend the mountain immediately. They weren't crazy. The puny forces they had were nothing before the army of demon beasts. Yang Yi made them hide outside the mountain while he snuck all the way to the top of it. In the hall. At this moment, there were around 10 figures in the hall. Of course, they were clearly demon beasts. They were led by a white-robed old man, and he held 2 jade green iron balls. The old man glanced at the others here, and his gaze stopped on a robust middle-aged man. Blood Demon King, the teleportation formation can still be used, but it requires a huge amount of spirit energy. However, the spirit energy in southern Qilan Mountain has been completely taken away by those outsiders. Now, we have no choice but to use a huge number of immortal crystals and inner cores to activate the teleportation formation. Blood Demon King spoke indifferently. Brother Goku, inner cores aren't a big problem. What I care about is how many can the teleportation formation transport away. Goku fell silent for a short while and said, It's impossible for you to teleport all the demon beasts out of this place. The teleportation formation can do it, but we don't have enough spirit energy. He stood up and looked up at the sky outside the hall. If those people outside undo the seal around this world, we wouldn't need spirit energy and could just leave through outer space. However, they probably wish for nothing more than to see us die with this world. The Blood Demon King stood up. Brother Goku, activate the formation now. Let's send out our people in batches. Goku asked, You're not leaving first? The Blood Demon King gazed out the hall. A dense ocean of demon beasts resided at the foot of the mountain. He gazed at them for a long time and then he spoke softly. Let them go first. I'll be the last. Goku glanced at him, and there was a trace of admiration in his eyes. Yang Yi was about to leave when the Blood Demon King suddenly said, Show yourself. Yang Ye's pupils constricted slightly. His presence had been discovered. How did he notice me? Yang Yi stopped hiding and revealed himself. All of the others here gazed at Yang Yi but didn't attack. An outsider. The Blood Demon King sized up Xianxia and said, I know you. You escaped from one of my subordinates. It seems a mysterious demon beast helped you then. Xianxia glanced at the Blood Demon King and said, The reason I'm here is very simple. I want to leave with some friends of mine. I hope you'll let me do that. I'm afraid we can't. Guku spoke indifferently. We can't even send away our own people. As for others, just forget it. The Blood Demon King suddenly said, Where's that demon beast? Xianxia shook his head. I don't know. He really didn't know Jir and the others' whereabouts. However, he felt that they should have left the dead dimension by now. The Blood Demon King fell silent. Xianxia said, The teleportation formation requires immortal crystals, and I can provide some. Just take it as the fee I pay for the teleportation. Alright? Guku asked, How many can you provide? Xianxia counted for a moment and replied, A few hundred. A few hundred immortal crystals was a huge amount of wealth in this place. The hall fell silent. A long time passed before Guku suddenly chuckled. We needed immortal crystals, and someone has come to give them to us. Looks like even the heavens are blessing us. As soon as he finished speaking, he stretched out his hand and clawed at Xianxia. Xianxia was clearly prepared for him, and he immediately swung his sword. A ray of sword energy flashed. Bang! A loud explosion resounded, and the entire hall shook violently. Meanwhile, Xianxia had vanished from the hall. He'd fled. Guku's expression was extremely unsightly. At the foot of Southern Chilan Mountain, Xianxia looked up at the mountain, and then he patted his chest. A small white head emerged from there. Xianxia pointed at Southern Chilan Mountain. There's spirit energy here. Take it. Take it all. As he spoke, his gaze turned icy cold. You refuse to let me leave? Then we can all stay here. Snowy. Take it. Suck it all away until they question their life choices. Spirit energy. Snowy's eyes lit up because she loved doing things like that. In the past, Xianxia didn't dare to let her just take the spirit energy anywhere, because it would definitely cause a huge amount of trouble for him. Yet now he couldn't care about it. Since they refused to let him go, he felt that no one should leave. After she received Xiangxia's permission, Snowy slowly floated up into the air, and then she sniffed lightly. She sensed a little bit of spirit energy, but it wasn't much. So, she turned to look at Xianxia, and there was aversion in her eyes. It was too little. She didn't want to take it at all. Xiangxia's face darkened. I'll let you have more in the future. Just take what's here for now, alright? In the end, Xianxia succeeded at persuading Snowy to do it. Snowy opened her mouth and sucked in a light breath. In an instant, all the remaining spirit energy throughout the mountain surged towards Snowy. The remnants of the spirit vein in Southern Chilan Mountain didn't have much spirit energy within them to begin with, so they were completely depleted by this. Moreover, the spirit energy throughout Southern Chilan Mountain vanished without a trace. Not even a thread of spirit energy was left behind. Clamorous noise resounded throughout the mountain. Countless experts shot up into the air to find the culprit. But at this moment, Xianxia had already left with Snowy. In the sky above the mountain, Guku's expression was extremely unsightly, and so was the expression on the Blood Demon King's face. While the remaining spirit energy within the spirit veins wasn't much, it was still some spirit energy. However, even that was gone now, so it was a huge blow to them. Not even a bit of spirit energy was left. The teleportation formation couldn't be used at all now, unless they used a huge number of immortal crystals and inner cores to activate it. The Blood Demon King suddenly said, Was it him? Guku spoke in a low voice. It's definitely him. The Blood Demon King spoke solemnly. How did he do it? Guku shook his head. The Blood Demon King waved his right hand, and a spatial ring appeared before Guku. There are inner cores in there. Activate the formation and send some of our subordinates out of here. Guku nodded. All right. He vanished on the spot once he finished speaking. Xianxia sat cross-legged in a cave, and he immersed his mind into his body. At this moment, Snowy was seated on the ground in the primordial pagoda, and a large number of immortal crystals were around here. There were at least a few hundred around her. They were the product of the spirit energy from before. Snowy blinked and cracked a smile when she saw Yang Yi. Yang Yi walked over to Snowy, took Snowy in his arms, and smiled. "How do you feel?" Yang Yi waved her claws swiftly to convey that she felt very comfortable. Taking spirit energy into her body was extremely beneficial to her growth. Yang Yi smiled, put away the immortal crystals, and said, "Come, let's continue." Just like that, the two of them left the primordial pagoda and snuck to the foot of southern Qilan Mountain. There was a huge square at the mountainside, and there were 3 teleportation formations there. Every one of them could fit around 100 people at a time. At this moment, they'd been activated, and they were emanating faint blue light. There were both humans and demon beasts on the formations. "Begin!" Suddenly, a voice resounded, and then the teleportation formations shook violently while rays of blue light enveloped the people and demon beasts within the formations. A short while later, their bodies started to gradually turn ethereal. However, something unexpected suddenly occurred. Bang! The blue light around the teleportation formations shattered, and both the humans and demon beasts in the formations were blasted away by a wave of energy. Everyone here was stunned by this. What's going on? Meanwhile, Guku appeared here. He glanced at the surroundings, and his face became extremely gloomy. The spirit energy was gone. The spirit energy created by the immortal crystals and inner cores were all gone. Not even a drop was left. Damn it! Guku roared with fury and vanished on the spot. At the foot of southern Qilan Mountain, Yang Yi was fleeing swiftly with Snowy in his arms. Run as soon as they were done. It didn't take long for Yang Yi to bring Snowy somewhere safe, and then he went into the primordial pagoda with her. She started spitting out immortal crystals one by one. Yang Ye's eyes glowed as he watched this. If he was in the outside world, these immortal crystals would be nothing to him. But they were priceless in this place. Especially at a time like this. While Yang Yi was happy, others were sad. In the hall on southern Qilan Mountain, Guku's expression was extremely gloomy. Their supply of both immortal crystals and inner cores wasn't endless. Especially immortal crystals, they could be said to have an absolutely limited supply of it. Moreover, the immortal crystals and inner cores required to activate the formation was split evenly between him and the Blood Demon King. The more they could provide, the more they could send out of this place. Yet now, the spirit energy here hadn't just vanished completely. Even the inner cores and immortal crystals they prepared for that round of teleportation were gone. If this happened a few more times, they wouldn't get to leave at all. "Let's talk with him." Suddenly, the Blood Demon King said. "He has a pair of sage rank wings, and coupled with his own speed, even we can't catch up to him. Most importantly, we don't have time to waste on him. We only have 2.5 days left. We're going to make a compromise?" Guku spoke in a low voice, and his voice carried a trace of unwillingness. The Blood Demon King stood up. "Brother Gu, we're just letting a few more people leave. If you continue this fight with him, then not to mention those humans who are with you, even the demon beasts with me won't be able to leave. This isn't something they want, and it's not something I want. Understand?" His voice was quite cold when he spoke up to this point. Guku fell silent for a long while before he said, "Fine, we'll talk with him." Guku vanished on the spot. The Blood Demon King closed his eyes slowly. "I hope you don't play any tricks. My patience is limited." Outside southern Qilan Mountain, Guku floated in midair, and the Blood Demon King was by his side. The Blood Demon King glanced at the surroundings and said, "Show yourself. I know you're here." He received no answer. Yang Yi laughed coldly to himself. "Show myself? I may not have a chance to escape if they join forces against me." Meanwhile, the Blood Demon King added, "I guarantee in the name of the demon race that we won't attack you." He still received no answer. The Blood Demon King said, "Do you really plan to waste time with us like this? If this continues, none of us will be able to leave. So show yourself. Let's just talk about it. We're absolutely sincere about this." A long time passed before a figure appeared not too far away from them. It was Yang Ye's figure, of course. Just as the Blood Demon King had said, Xianxia's objective was very simple, and it was to send Amon and the others out of the dead dimension and not to take these fellows down with him. Goku's eyes narrowed slightly when he saw Xiangyi. The Blood Demon King sized up Xiangyi and asked, "How many people do you have?" Xiangyi replied, "Around 30, 10 immortal crystals each." The Blood Demon King continued, "If you're willing to pay that price, we'll be willing to let you and your people leave. 300 immortal crystals." Needless to say, it was quite a big request, because 300 immortal crystals was a huge amount of wealth in the dead dimension. However, Xiangyi didn't refuse, and he just nodded, "All right, deal." Immortal crystals were very precious here, but once they left this place, immortal crystals wouldn't be so precious anymore. But if they couldn't leave this place, they would die, and these immortal crystals would just be rocks. So, he wasn't reluctant to part with them at all. Xiangyi didn't waste time and immediately flicked a spatial ring to the Blood Demon King. The latter glanced at it, and there were exactly 300 immortal crystals in them. The Blood Demon King glanced at Xiangyi and said, "Lead your people to the teleportation formation." Xiangyi turned around and left, and it didn't take long for him to return with Amon and the others. At the teleportation formation, the Blood Demon King said, "All of you go first." Xiangyi nodded slightly, and then he gazed at Amon and the others. "All of you go first." Amon asked, "What about you?" Xiangyi smiled, "I'll leave later. I'll stay behind." Amon continued, "You leave with the others." Xiangyi shook his head and sent her a voice transmission. "They fear me. They'll be afraid while I'm here, and they wouldn't dare to play any tricks. It's pointless for you to say, so take the others and go." Amon wanted to say more, but Xiangyi added, "Big sis, that's enough. Just take them and go." Amon gazed at Xiangyi for a long time before she nodded. "We'll be waiting for you." She turned around and entered the teleportation formation. Qin Chuan and the others went over to Xiangyi, patted Xiangyi on the shoulder and said, "We'll be waiting for you. We'll kill our way back here if we don't see you soon." As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Chuan and the others entered the teleportation formation before Xiangyi could say anything. Xiangyi gazed at the Blood Demon King, and the latter gazed at Goku. Goku nodded slightly, waved his right hand, and then the teleportation formation started trembling. A short while later, rays of blue light enveloped Amon and the others, and then they vanished on the spot. Xiangyi heaved a sigh of relief when he witnessed this. Suddenly, Amon and the others appeared in the teleportation formation again, and all of them were heavily injured. Everyone here was stunned. Xiangyi swiftly gazed at Goku, and the Blood Demon King glared angrily at Goku as well. However, Amon suddenly said, "It's not his fault. The people outside refused to let us leave. The people outside. The people outside?" Everyone here was quite stunned. But it didn't take long for them to think of something, and their faces fell. Meanwhile, the Blood Demon King said, "Be a little more specific." Amon led the others out of the teleportation formation and said, "When we were about to get to the space outside, we were besieged by a group of people. Luckily, we immediately turned around and came back here. Otherwise, all of us would have died in the spatial pathway." The Blood Demon King's face instantly became gloomy when he heard her. He wasn't the only one. Everyone else here had quite a gloomy expression on their faces. The people outside clearly knew what was happening here, and their intentions were obvious as well. They didn't want to let the people in the dead dimension escape to the outside world. They wanted all the living beings here to perish with the dead dimension. Meanwhile, someone suddenly asked, "Why are they doing this?" Amon shook her head slightly, and then she gazed at the Blood Demon King, and everyone else looked at him too. Obviously, the Blood Demon King should know the answer. The Blood Demon King closed his eyes slowly. "Fear. Those races of the large universe fear the humans and demon beasts from the dead dimension. If we enter their world, it'll definitely impact the situation in the large universe. Moreover, practically all the humans and demon beasts that grew up in the dead dimension are stronger than those cultivators in the outside world. So, how could they not fear us?" Goku spoke in a low voice, They refuse to give us any chance to survive. The Blood Demon King chuckled. The overall situation in the large universe is fixed. If we leave, it'll definitely impact them, and it's something they aren't willing to see. So, the best way is to stop us from ever leaving. All of them fell silent. Suddenly, the Blood Demon King chuckled, and then he gazed at Goku. Go notify all the other humans who are still in hiding. Not just them, notify all the other living beings in the dead dimension. Tell them to come to southern Qilin Mountain if they want to leave this place. Goku said, Are you planning on? The Blood Demon King nodded slightly. Everyone will die if we don't work together. In a room, only Yang Yi and the others were here. Yang Yi glanced at Amon and the others. All of you can't leave as well? He hadn't forgotten that all of them had the backing of a clan or organization. Amon was about to speak when she suddenly frowned, and then she gradually closed her eyes. Amon wasn't the only one. Many others acted strangely just like her. Some time passed before Amon opened her eyes, and she said, I received a message from my clan. Yang Yi asked, What is it? She replied, They asked me to go outside again. My clansmen will be there to get me. Yu Jing said, I got a similar message. Ling's voice resounded, Me too. It didn't take long for many to express that they had someone to get them on the outside, and only 9 of them hadn't received such messages. Actually, there were 10 if Yang Yi was included. Yang Yi nodded slightly. That's good. Come. Let's go to the teleportation formation and send all of you outside. Yu Jing said, We'll go together. Someone asked, Can we? The corners of Yu Jing's mouth twitched, but he didn't say anything in the end, because the message he received said that only he could leave. It was a pass to leave that his clan had gotten for him, and it was only valid for a single person. Let me talk to them. Yu Jing closed his eyes, and it didn't take long for the space before him to tremble slightly. Some time passed before Yu Jing opened his eyes again. He didn't say anything, but his face was quite gloomy. Everyone knew what the answer was. The room fell silent. Some time passed before Yang Yi stood up. Come. I'll send all of you off. Yang Yi walked out of the room. It didn't take long for them to arrive before the teleportation formation. The atmosphere here was quite heavy. Yang Yi smiled. Don't act like this. All of you are just heading out first. It won't take long for us to meet again. He gazed at Amon and continued, Big sis, take them with you. Amon fell silent for a long time, and then she gazed at Mad Saber. Mad Saber, you take them with you? Mad Saber was puzzled. What? She looked up at the sky. The sky was gray and dark, and she grinned. I want to stay here for a while longer. Yang Yi wanted to say something, but she waved her hand. I've made my decision, so there's no need to say anything. Yang Yi glanced at her, shook his head, and didn't say anything, because he knew that it was pointless. Yang Yi restrained his thoughts, gazed at Mad Saber, and was about to speak when Mad Saber spoke first. I'm not leaving too. All of them gazed at Mad Saber, and the latter chuckled. I want to stay here a while longer too. That's exactly what I was thinking. Meanwhile, Yu Jing suddenly smiled. After staying in this damnable place for so many years, I'm really quite reluctant to leave. So, I've decided to stay a while longer. Someone else declared, I'm not leaving too. It didn't take long for them to declare that they refused to leave. Regardless of whether it was Amon, Yu Jing, and the others, all of them were very well aware that if Yang Yi and the others wanted to leave too, they may have to kill their way out. However, their chances were clearly very slim when there were those experts out there, so they didn't want Yang Yi and the mothers to fight alone. Yang Yi glanced at them and shook his head. This isn't necessary. Amon said, We've made our decision. Yang Yi was about to speak when a voice came from the side. I want to leave. Everyone looked towards the source of the voice. It was a man who said that his name was Yu Qing. Yu Qing gazed at Yang Yi. I want to leave. Yang Yi nodded slightly. He was about to speak when Yu Qing spoke before him. I know that leaving at a time like this isn't something a loyal brother should do. He closed his eyes at this point and spoke in a trembling voice. Brother, I really want to leave. Yang Yi walked over to him and smiled. We don't blame you. Yuqing opened his eyes, and tears flickered within them. I'm from a declining clan in the human race. She and I were childhood sweethearts, and we promised ourselves to each other. However, my clan suffered decline, and so her clan refused to let us be together. Her clan said that they would agree with the condition that I'm able to attain the Tao realm within 3 years. So, I came to the dead dimension, and I'm at the Tao realm now. His hands were trembling at this point. Tomorrow is the last day. If I don't leave now, she'll think that I gave up on her. She once told me that if I'm not there, at the place we agreed to meet at sunset, she'll dig out her eyes and heart to punish herself for trusting the wrong person. When he spoke up to this point, tears were seeping out of his eyes. There are many things you can't control when you're born in a clan. If I can't prove my potential to her clan, then she'll be sacrificed by her clan by forming a union with a different clan, just to benefit her own clan. Suddenly, Amon spoke in an indisputable tone. Go back. Right now. Yang Yi nodded as well. Don't disappoint her. Go home. As for us, do you think we would blame you? Yuqing was clearly in pain. I don't want to leave all of you and leave by myself. I would never forgive myself if anything happens to all of you. What the hell are you talking about? Yuqing was displeased. Do you know how to speak? What do you mean if something happens to us? What can possibly happen to us? Just stop being so hesitant and go to your girl. Don't disappoint her feelings for you. All of the others nodded. Yang Yi said, Loyalty between brothers depends on the situation. It's pointless to do that now. Moreover, if your relationship with her is spoiled because of us, then we'll really feel guilty forever. Amon spoke as well. Stop hesitating and fuck off. If we do die, we'll leave our burials to you. The faces of the others darkened because even Amon didn't know how to speak. Yuqing intended to say more, but Yang Yi grabbed him and tossed him into the teleportation formation. A moment later, a ray of blue light enveloped Yuqing, and then he vanished on the spot. Meanwhile, Yang Yi gazed at Amon and the others. Big Sis, Mad Saber, and the rest of you. Are you really not going? Amon shook her head slightly. Yang Yi spoke in a low voice. This really isn't necessary. Amon suddenly said. When did you become so indecisive? Yang Yi was at a loss for words. Amon said, We said we aren't leaving, so we aren't. If we're leaving together. Or do you think we're too weak to stay? Yang Yi laughed bitterly. What are you talking about? Amon walked over to Yang Yi. We don't want to leave the few of you to fight alone. We go through thick and thin together. If we're leaving together, or we all stay. Qin Chuan chuckled. Big Sis is right. We met in this damnable place and got along with each other, so that means there's fate between us. Yet now, you're asking brothers who've gone through life and death together to leave first? We would truly be eternally regretful if we did that. Yuqing chimed in as well. So, Brother Yang, don't try to persuade us. You should think about how to get all of us out of here instead. Yang Yi glanced at them and fell silent for a long time before he chuckled. All right. I refuse to believe that the dead dimension can stop us brothers. We'll kill our way out together. Kill their way out together. Kill their way out. Yang Yi was very well aware that the only way for them to leave was to kill their way out. Kill open a path covered in blood. Suddenly, a middle-aged man appeared before them. He glanced at their group and gazed at Yang Yi in the end. Young Master Yang, the Blood Demon King requests your presence. Yang Yi nodded slightly. I'll be there in a moment. The middle-aged man nodded and left. Amon said, Be careful. Yang Yi smiled. Don't worry. If we still fight and kill each other now, then we'll have no hope of survival. Both Guku and the Blood Demon King aren't fools. As soon as he finished speaking, Yang Yi vanished into the distance. Qin Chuan spoke solemnly by Amon's side. Big Sis, aren't those fellows out there going a little too far? Amon fell silent. Qin Chuan added, Even if we're able to kill our way outside, we'll probably become wanted by many races. I may be expelled from my clan. Yuqing suddenly asked, You regret your decision already? Regret. Qin Chuan chuckled. Regret what? So long as I'm strong enough, those old geezers from the clan would never abandon me. They'll beg me to return and become the patriarch. Amon nodded slightly. So long as you're strong enough, you'll have no enemies because no one would dare to become your enemy. Right? Qin Chuan seemed to have thought of something. Brother Yang said he's being pursued by all the races? Amon nodded. Tisk, tisk. Qin Chuan shook his head. He's really amazing. He was actually able to make all of them pursue him, and he's even still alive until now. Amazing indeed. Someone asked, do you know why they were pursuing him? Amon fell silent for a moment and replied, he took the sovereign of man's sword. Everyone here was stunned. It didn't take long for admiration to cover Qin Chuan's face. That's fucking amazing. Luckily, I didn't fight him when we met. Otherwise, I may be sleeping underground by now. The others shook their heads and chuckled. In the hall, Blood Demon King sat at the seat of the host while Guku sat near him. Besides that, Yang Yi noticed some familiar faces in the hall. Wan Chenyu and Mo Tianxiong were here. Mo Tianxiong grinned as a form of greeting when he saw Yang Yi. Yang Yi nodded in response, and then he casually sat in one of the seats at the side. Meanwhile, the Blood Demon King stood up and said, I'm sure all of you are aware of the situation in the dead dimension, so I won't waste my breath on it. If we want to live, there's only one way, and it's to kill our way out. We have to unite and kill our way out. One of them said, those fellows out there have definitely thought of this, so they'll definitely have extraordinary experts waiting for us. The Blood Demon King replied, no matter who they send or how many they send, it doesn't make a difference to us, because we have no choice, and we can only kill our way out. Or perhaps all of you can just stay and die with this world. All the others here fell silent. A short while passed before someone said, can we talk about it with the people outside? The Blood Demon King shook his head slightly. We've tried, and their attitude towards it is obvious. They want all of us to perish with the dead dimension. That man said, then we have no choice but to fight. Mo Tianxiong nodded slightly. Everyone, the Blood Demon King is right. We have no other choice. If we want to live, we have only one way to do that. Kill our way out there. Mo Tianxiong gazed at the Blood Demon King and continued, the strong lead. I suggest we temporarily allow the Blood Demon King to lead us. If we don't have a single commander, our forces will be scattered, and we won't be able to fight the people outside at all. What do all of you think? All the others had no objections. While the Blood Demon King hadn't revealed his strength, they had no doubt that he was the strongest here. The Blood Demon King didn't refuse. He stood up, glanced at everyone, and said, my plan is that I'll lead some people into the teleportation formation, and then we'll create a pocket of space on the other side. After that, all of you'll teleport to that pocket of space. In the end, we'll fight those fellows in that pocket of space. The others had no objections to this plan. The Blood Demon King nodded when he saw this, and then he said, Brother Mo, Brother Wan, Brother Gu, and Brother Yang, you'll come with me. Brother Yang. Many people here were stunned. Who's that? It didn't take long for them to look at Yang Yi, who was seated at the side. Yang Yi gazed at the Blood Demon King, and there was some surprise in his eyes. He hadn't expected that the Blood Demon King would ask him to come along. The Blood Demon King smiled. It's not a problem, right? Yang Yi shook his head. Of course. The Blood Demon King said. Then let's set off right now. He vanished on the spot once he finished speaking. Mo Tianxiong, Wan Chenyu, and Guku vanished from the hall as well. Yang Yi thought for a moment and vanished too. The Blood Demon King stood before the teleportation formation and said, based on your strength, you have a very good chance of escaping if you try. However, all of you have people relying on you, so you won't abandon them and flee yourselves. Right? Of course. Mo Tianxiong smiled. My son is still here. The Blood Demon King nodded slightly and said, let's go. As soon as he finished speaking, all of them entered the teleportation formation, and it didn't take long for it to activate and teleport them away. A short while later, Yang Yi and the others were in a spatial passageway, and some time passed before the Blood Demon King stopped. He glanced at the surroundings and said, "We're not too far away from the outside world. It's another 15 minutes away at most. So, let's do it here." As he spoke, he raised his hands slowly. In an instant, the space around them trembled, and then he pushed his hands forward. This caused the spatial passageway before him to turn ethereal, and the space there grew in size. Meanwhile, the Blood Demon King said, "Do it!" Goku nodded, and then he pushed his hands forward. The spatial passageway before him turned ethereal too. At the same time, Wan Chenyu did the same. Yang Yi glanced at the surroundings, and then he asked, "How do I create a pocket of space?" All of them glanced at Yang Yi. Yang Yi shrugged, "I don't know how." The Blood Demon King grinned. "It's very simple. This is the spatial passageway within the teleportation formation. Just break open the passageway on your side, and the space here will grow." Yang Yi nodded, and then he waved his hands lightly. Bang! The spatial passageway shook violently. The Blood Demon King glanced at Yang Yi. "Lighter!" Yang Yi felt speechless. Goku said, "We'll be in trouble if the passageway collapses." Yang Yi nodded. "I understand." Just like that, the space here grew wider and wider under their joint forces. Suddenly, something unexpected occurred. Mo Tianxiong suddenly withdrew his hands and transformed into a ray of light that vanished into the distance. He'd fled. All of them were stunned. A short while passed before the Blood Demon King spoke indifferently. "I didn't expect him to even abandon his son," Goku replied. "So long as he's alive, he can have as many children as he wants. However, if he's dead, his son is useless." The Blood Demon King said, "True. Ignore him. Let's continue." Around 4 hours later, the space here was over 30 kilometers wide. All of them stopped. The Blood Demon King said, "Let's go." Suddenly, loud explosions resounded at the end of the spatial passageway, and then the space there started to tremble violently. A miserable and shrill cry suddenly resounded from there. All of them were shocked when they heard it, because it was Mo Tianxiong's voice. He was dead. Moreover, he might have died a terrible death. They fell silent for a moment, and then the Blood Demon King said, "Looks like the experts guarding the exit are much stronger than we expected." His pupils constricted when he spoke up to this point. "Someone's coming." All of them looked towards the side. The space there shook violently, and then a figure shot out from there. A moment later, a man in golden armor appeared before them. The armored man glanced at Yang Ye's group and said, "Get the fuck back there." The Blood Demon King suddenly took a step forward and slammed his fist forward. Boom! The man in golden armor was instantly blasted over 10 kilometers away. As soon as he stopped himself, his armor shattered, and a wisp of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. The man wiped off the blood and gazed at the Blood Demon King. "The Zen realm." The Blood Demon King spoke indifferently. "Get the fuck back there and tell them we just want to leave. All we want is to leave the dead dimension. If you refuse to give us a chance to live, then we'll all just die together." The Blood Demon King turned around and walked away once he finished speaking. "Leave." The man chuckled. "The joint army of all the races is waiting out there. How will you leave?" The Blood Demon King stopped moving. The man said, "There is a way that all of you can survive, but it depends on whether you're willing to take it. The Sovereign of Man is a benevolent person, so if you're willing to lead your forces and follow the Sovereign of Man, then the Sovereign of Man will protect all of you. Besides that," he suddenly pointed at Yang Yi. "He's someone the Sovereign of Man wants dead. If you kill him and hand him to the Sovereign of Man, the Sovereign of Man will definitely—" Suddenly, a sword howl resounded. The Blood Demon King's eyes narrowed slightly while a wisp of solemnness flashed through his eyes. Suddenly, the surroundings fell silent. A man in green clothes was standing before the man, and the green-clothed man had a pair of black wings on his back. It was Yang Yi. At this moment, Yang Ye's sword was pressed against the man's throat. Yang Yi pushed his sword forward slightly and said, "What will the Sovereign of Man do? Go on, tell me." Slowly, "I'm listening."